Kofi Kingston is going to WrestleMania. Yes, you heard that correctly. SmackDown Live just got over a couple minutes ago. I'll get into everything that happened on Raw and SmackDown here in a second. Thank you for tuning in and listening. Be sure, if you haven't done so already, to like, follow, and subscribe to Gridiron Ring and myself, Cool Hand Luke 96, on social media. The links are in the description below. So, Monday Night Raw was in the Northeast this past week, yesterday and earlier tonight, in Boston, Massachusetts, and Uncasville, Connecticut, for both Raw and SmackDown. Monday Night Raw kicked off with Love Runs Out by One Republic, and by the way, that is one of the theme songs for WrestleMania this year. And then Michael Cole announces breaking news that broke earlier on in the day, that the WrestleMania 35 main event will be for the Raw Women's Championship, and it'll be Ronda Rousey defending versus both Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair. Then Ronda kicks off Raw, and she absolutely gets booed from the Boston crowd. A Beat the Clock challenge then is advertised for later on, and it's actually going to be coming up next. It was the first thing that happened on Raw last night. A Beat the Clock challenge is advertised for the three competitors in the main event of WrestleMania: Becky Lynch versus Liv Morgan, Ronda Rousey versus Sarah Logan, and Charlotte versus Ruby Riott. So basically versus the Riott Squad. All three members of the Riott Squad facing off in singles action versus the three competitors in the Raw Women's Championship match, now the main event of WrestleMania 35. So the Beat the Clock challenge will happen tonight. Boos and "We Want Becky" chants then from the crowd during this Ronda Rousey promo. And for the first time ever, she says the women will main event WrestleMania. It's going to be me, Ronda Rousey, versus Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair. And I only have one thing to say. You're welcome. Actually, I have something else to say. I'm going to tap out both Becky and Charlotte at the same time. And during this, she dropped the mic, picked it back up, did it again. One more thing. I have no idea how this Beat the Clock challenge works, just like all the other stupid gimmick matches you have here in the WWE, but let's get it started. So then the Riott Squad comes out, and then Becky comes out, and Becky goes on by saying at the top of the ramp, it's good to be back in Boston. She's obviously Irish. Boston, one of the most well-known Irish cities in the United States. Becky goes on by saying then, Ronda, you came in with a big money contract, and everyone yawned. You basically wrestled everyone and won, but no one gave a damn until the man came around, meaning Becky Lynch. Shout out to the man in black himself, Johnny Cash. Oh, and one more thing. You know how this ends. I'm going to beat you and become the Raw Women's Champion at WrestleMania. That's when Charlotte comes out. So she goes on by saying then, Ronda, Becky, blah, 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 blah. Yes, the women are now main eventing WrestleMania for the first time ever. Not because of what Ronda's done. Not because of what Becky's done. It's because what I've done the past 7 years, says Charlotte Flair. So the Beat the Clock challenge then kicks off, as Michael Cole announced. Originally, I thought it was going to be later on in the show, but then, like I said, it kicked off Raw. It was the first thing other than this opening promo segment with the three women. It was the first thing on Raw last night. Ronda versus Sarah Logan started the Beat the Clock challenge. Ronda beat Sarah Logan by making her tap out in 1 minute and 25 seconds. So Charlotte has to beat Ruby Riott in that amount of time, or less, to move on and win the Beat the Clock challenge. Ronda, once she won, she stayed at the entrance during both Becky and Charlotte's matches. Charlotte up next versus Ruby, and she got Riott in the figure 8 but could not submit her before the time expired, so Charlotte eliminated in the Beat the Clock challenge. Charlotte was so frustrated though, she hit Becky with a big boot before her match versus Liv Morgan. And then Becky Lynch ended up rolling up Liv Morgan with 7 seconds left in the Beat the Clock challenge to win over both Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair, just like she's going to do in the main event of WrestleMania 35. Finn Balor then backstage getting ready for his now 2-on-1 handicap match versus Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush, which is up next. And if Balor wins, he will receive a Intercontinental Championship match at WrestleMania. Now, did you know WWE has over 17 million Instagram followers? By the way, you can follow myself and Gridiron Ring on social media if you haven't done so already. As usual, the links are in the description below. So Finn Balor comes out after this commercial break. His match versus Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush is next. Then the Intercontinental Champion, the almighty Bobby Lashley, and the man of the hour himself, Lio Rush, make their appearance as well. Lio Rush promo, he goes on by saying, "Your road to WrestleMania goes through us, and trust me when I say it, this isn't a road you want to be on right now. You should have quit while you were ahead. Now you're going to be forced to leave the game as a beaten, broken, hot piece of garbage like Rob Gronkowski." As I said, there in Boston, Rob Gronkowski retired on Sunday the night before, so a lot of heel heat from the Boston crowd towards Lio Rush. Lio Rush then announces, though, he's not medically cleared, so he will not be tagging with Lashley tonight in the 2-on-1 handicap match versus Finn Balor. Instead, it'll be Finn Balor versus Bobby Lashley, and then Jinder Mahal came out. So Finn Balor versus Bobby Lashley and Jinder Mahal in a 2-on-1 handicap match. And if Finn wins, he'll still get an Intercontinental Championship match at WrestleMania. But basically, it was a 5-on-1 because Lio Rush was still ringside during the match, along with the two Singh brothers, Jinder Mahal's entourage. So a 2-on-1 handicap match, but basically, like I said, it was a 5-on-1 because they were taking control of Balor. Balor really didn't get in control until Jinder was tagged in the match. Then Balor took over, took everyone out ringside before hitting Jinder with a coup de grace to pick up the win. So Finn's going to WrestleMania now, and he will now face Bobby Lashley for the Intercontinental Championship. And I bet you any money he's going to be winning. Lashley then took out Jinder and the Singh brothers in frustration as well after the match. It was a good decision, I think, now on the part of the WWE's part, for taking the title off of Finn a couple weeks ago on Raw when I was there in Pittsburgh at PPG Paints Arena. Videos are right here on the channel. Go check them out. And then have Balor chase it for the next couple weeks up until WrestleMania, and then have him get it back at Mania 35. So storyline-wise, it makes a little bit more sense now that I think about it. But Finn Balor won this 2-on-1 handicap match, as I said, and he will now be facing Bobby Lashley for the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania. Kurt Angle then versus Samoa Joe is advertised for later on in the night. Then they cut to Elias, who is in the middle of Times Square in New York City. I highly doubt this was live when they were doing it. Probably filmed the week before or the night before, who the hell knows. But I highly doubt Elias was in NYC when this was going on during the show. He's probably just backstage watching it. But he goes on by saying then that many iconic artists have performed here, but there's nothing compared to what I have in store at WrestleMania. He had 3 different segments. He was in 3 different places. I'll get to the rest here in a second. Somewhat weird. They really haven't done this with him yet in his career, but it's something different. You know, it's something new. You got to get used to it, obviously. But I liked it a little bit. So hopefully they continue to do that, depending on what cities they're in throughout the year. So Corey Graves then, once they come back from the Elias segment, he's at his best once again. He says on commentary, Elias at WrestleMania, that's like seeing Kiss live in concert and you saying you're more excited for the opening band. I absolutely died laughing. There's actually a couple other things Graves said on both Raw and SmackDown that I'll get to hear in a second that I absolutely love. Corey Graves, one of the best, if not the best WWE commentator in the WWE in quite some time. Aleister Black and Ricochet then versus the Revival, the Raw Tag Team Champions. And Aleister and Ricochet, they ended up winning after a double black mass to both members of the Revival, Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder, and then a 630 splash from Ricochet to Dash Wilder. So Aleister Black and Ricochet defeat the Raw Tag Team Champions, the Revival. I wonder if they're going to have, because reports lately have been saying that WWE is trying to cut down on the total number of matches for WrestleMania, and they're not going to be having either Raw or SmackDown Live Tag Team Championship matches. But we'll have to see. Maybe they add it to the pre-show. Maybe they add it next week on Raw or SmackDown. But that's still yet to be seen. But I think for the Raw side, if they did do one, it'd be Aleister and Ricochet versus the Revival, and then the Hardys versus the Usos. But who the hell knows what they'll do? They probably won't have any, to be honest with you. They'll probably just save it for the following pay-per-view, which would be the, well, I don't know if it's going to be the Greatest Royal Rumble or not. It's going to be the Saudi Arabia show, but then Money in the Bank's a couple weeks after that. So we'll have to see what they do. But yeah, the team of Aleister Black and Ricochet still undefeated up on the main roster as a tag team. They defeated the Raw Tag Team Champions, the Revival, once again on Monday Night Raw. No holds barred then, they announce, as we've known the past couple weeks, at WrestleMania between Triple H and Batista. Triple H is live tonight on Raw. That was right before the main event, like about 10:35, 10:40, he had his segment. So I'll get to that here coming up very shortly. Drew McIntyre then comes out. He goes on by saying, "I don't give a damn if you like me, but you will respect me. The eyes never lie, and neither does Drew McIntyre." They show a recap then from 2 weeks ago with McIntyre attacking Roman Reigns at the Monday Night Raw that I was at in Pittsburgh. Chicago last week, they're in Boston last night. They're in Washington, D.C. now. Next Monday for Raw, and then the following Sunday, obviously, in East Rutherford, New Jersey for WrestleMania 35, and then Brooklyn for both Raw and SmackDown after Mania. So recap from 2 weeks ago with McIntyre attacking Roman Reigns, and then from last week as well with McIntyre challenging Roman Reigns to a match at WrestleMania. He goes on by saying, "I've beaten Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins in the past 2 weeks. Now I want you, and I want my answer, or else I'm going to hold Raw hostage." That's when Roman Reigns comes out. Roman, he accepts his challenge and then attacks Drew because McIntyre, he did talk some smack towards Roman's family, his wife and kids in particular, as well during that promo. So Roman attacked. Drew ended up hitting Roman with a low blow and then a Claymore kick to stand tall. So Roman, he'll probably win at WrestleMania, even though he shouldn't. Drew should stand tall and beat Roman at Mania 35, but I highly doubt that's going to happen. Kurt Angle then, once again, versus Samoa Joe is advertised. Can Seth Rollins slay the Beast? We'll have to find out later on. Dean Ambrose and Drew McIntyre then backstage. Ambrose challenges McIntyre to a last man standing match. That was the main event. Sasha Banks and Bayley then come out, along with Natalya and Beth Phoenix, and then we have a match with Sasha Banks and Natalya. Nia Jax and Tamina come out of nowhere though and take out both Bayley and Beth Phoenix before Beth fights back and takes out Nia and then hits Tamina with a glam slam. Last man standing match then is made official for later on. Like I said, that was the main event. Dean Ambrose versus Drew McIntyre. Hart Foundation, Bret the Hitman Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart will be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. Next week, we'll get to find out the last member of the 2019 NFL or the WWE Hall of Fame class. The NFL Hall of Fame, they announced that last month. I believe I talked about it in my football videos recently, but that'll be the night before is it the night before the Pro Bowl? Or not the Pro Bowl. Why am I talking about NFL football right now? I don't know. Maybe because the draft's coming up shortly. Free agency still going on somewhat. I'm going to be doing live reactions of the draft in about a month, so I hope to see everybody then. I'll plug that now, I guess. So stay tuned. But yeah, no, the NFL Hall of Fame game will be 2 nights before the induction ceremony. The induction ceremony will be on Saturday, August the 3rd. April 3rd, next, Wednesday now, a week from probably today when you're listening to this, because this will be uploaded right after I get done recording and editing and everything else in between that I have to do to upload a video to YouTube So yeah, I'm recording this late Tuesday night. I know I'm going on and on about this. The Pro Bowl, by the way, now I'm thinking about that. That's the week before the Super Bowl. Yeah, I don't know why the hell I'm talking NFL. Let's get back to the WWE Raw and SmackDown recap from this week, Monday, March 25th, and Tuesday, March the 26th, 2019. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you're enjoying. So the Hart Foundation, Bret the Hitman Hart, and Jim the Anvil Neidhart will be inducted into the, let's see if I can get this right now, the 2019 WWE Hall of Fame. And next week on Raw, we'll find out the last and final member of the 2019 WWE Hall of Fame class. So, video packages then on their career. And man, I just wish Anvil was still around to be there next weekend now for the Hall of Fame ceremony, because he just passed away this past summer. And he is the father of Natalya, and they did this at the perfect time because Natalya was in the ring with Beth Phoenix, and then they panned to her once they showed the video package, and obviously she's in tears, and rightfully so. It's her dad and her uncle, especially her uncle, one of the best wrestlers of all time, Bret the Hitman Hart, and then Jim the Anvil Neidhart, her father. The Hart Foundation will be going into the WWE Hall of Fame this year. Now, they should have already inducted him, but what are you going to do? Charlie Caruso then interviews Kurt Angle backstage. He thanks Chad Gable and Apollo Crews for wrestling him so far on his farewell tour, and that he appreciates Samoa Joe from coming over from SmackDown Live to compete on Raw in a match against each other. A match, I might add, that has never, ever taken place inside a WWE ring. Hard to believe, I know, but all their previous matches against one another took place in TNA. I'm sure they're right here on YouTube, so be sure to subscribe to Gridiron Ring right here before going and checking those out. Baron Corbin then interrupts. How many years have you competed? He asked Kurt. How old are you? Kurt, do you even realize that they're not cheering for you because they like you? They're cheering for you because they feel sorry for you, saying that this guy should have retired 10 years ago. And, okay, yeah, that's somewhat true there, I guess, but you know, it is what it is. He's still wrestling, so appreciate it while you can. Corbin also says, and now you're half the man you used to be. And then Kurt simply replies with a screw you. A Moment of Bliss then is up next, obviously with your host, the goddess, Alexa Bliss, but with special guests tonight, Michael Che and Colin Jost from Saturday Night Live, and then the monster among men, Braun Strowman. Come back from commercial break then, Charlie Caruso interviews Bayley and Sasha Banks backstage. They announce, basically they announce it later on, Fatal 4-Way now for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships between the Boston Hug Connection of Bayley and Sasha Banks, Nia Jax and Tamina, the Iconics, Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, who I think right now are going to end up winning, and then Natalya and Beth Phoenix. The Iconics should win. They probably won't, but who knows? We'll find out and see. So, Moment of Bliss, she goes on by saying, show just keeps getting better and better ever since I was named the host of WrestleMania. I was there when she made the announcement as well. Now the women will main event WrestleMania for the first time ever. Am I good or what? Yes, you are, Alexa Bliss. Yes, you are. You're better than good. You're great. So they show a video recap from the past couple weeks with Braun Strowman and the SNL guys, Colin Jost and Michael Che. And then as Braun walks towards the ring, Corey Graves with another great line. He says, Alexa Bliss puts you in moments you didn't even know you had. Preach it, Corey Graves. Preach, my man. Yes, she does. Alexa Bliss, if you're out there listening, Cool Hand Luke 96 on social media. You're probably not listening, but if you are, Cool Hand Luke 96 on social media, hit me up. So they show the video recap, as I said. And then Alexa goes over some things Braun's done in his past, saying that he flipped an ambulance over with Roman Reigns inside, which he did. He destroyed the Monday Night Raw set with Brock Lesnar, which he did. And then he demolished Vince McMahon's limousine, which he also did. So she asks him, what are you going to do when the correspondents of WrestleMania, Michael Che and Colin Jost of Saturday Night Live, want those hands? What are you going to do with them when they want those hands? Well, it's the thought that counts, referring to The car that they gave Braun a couple weeks ago, that was also in Pittsburgh 2 weeks ago on Monday Night Raw. I was there, like I said, videos right here on the channel. Go check those out. And then Braun Strowman also goes on by saying, the only thought, though, I had was smashing Colin Jost's pasty face. Michael Che then and Colin Jost join A Moment of Bliss. They are on via satellite from the set of Saturday Night Live. Colin says a couple weeks ago when they were on in Philadelphia, it was wrong to put on a New York Mets hat. So tonight he will not be putting on a New York Mets hat. Instead, he proceeds to put on a New York Yankees hat, and he gets a lot of heel heat as well from the Boston crowd. Towards the end of this promo then as well, this segment with them on via satellite, they were talking. You could hear Yankees suck chants from the Boston crowd at the TD Garden, home of the Boston Bruins and Boston Celtics, both teams in the NHL and NBA playoffs this year. So Saturday Night Live, they want Braun to pay them back, plus interest for the car that he demolished, and then also a Brock Lesnar autograph. Instead, Alexa, as she is the host of WrestleMania, she makes it official that the correspondents of WrestleMania, Michael Che and Colin Jost of Saturday Night Live, will be in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal along with Braun Strowman, and they're going to get these hands. So Elias then, outside of Madison Square Garden, he's just doing his thing like he normally does. Up next, though, Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews in a singles match. But first, Bobby Roode and Chad Gable are now in a Snickers commercial because you're not glorious when you're hungry. Very sad to see them, especially Bobby Roode, doing a Snickers commercial. Very, very sad. He should be a champion on the main roster. Not a tag team champion, just a regular singles champion. Now, tag team champion if they got beer money back together, if they brought in James Storm from TNA, from the independent scene now, which they still very well could do. But ever since Roode has come up, and I've talked about it, I don't know when I did, but I know I have. I think it was during one of the live streams, and I'll be live for everything next weekend, basically. So be sure to tune in. I'll get to that here later on. But NXT champions, they have not, most of them, I'll say that, most of them have not succeeded up on the main roster. Bobby Roode being one of them. They put him in the damn tag team division with Chad Gable, of all people, who's a good wrestler, but still, it's just very sad to see him, Bobby Roode, and Chad Gable being in a Snickers commercial. So, Bobby Roode, Chad Gable, if you haven't seen it, they're in a new Snickers commercial because you're not glorious when you're hungry. So, Baron Corbin, Apollo Crews, they have their singles match. Baron Corbin, he ends up winning after hitting Crews with a end of days. Up next, though, can Seth Rollins slay the beast? This was the 10 o'clock segment. During the commercial break, WrestleMania kickoff show will be once again on the USA Network, Sunday, April the 7th at 6 p.m. I will be live right here on YouTube, though, for WrestleMania, doing live reactions, play-by-play, so hopefully you tune in and watch. I'll also be live right here on YouTube next Monday and Tuesday for the go-home shows of both Raw and SmackDown Live for WrestleMania. So next Monday and Tuesday, April 1st and 2nd, no joke, no April Fool's joke, I will be live right here on YouTube doing live reactions, play-by-play of both go-home shows for WrestleMania. The WrestleMania main event, as I said earlier, they announced it before Raw and then on Raw as well. The WrestleMania 35 main event is for the Raw Women's Championship. Ronda Rousey defending versus Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair. Let me know actually down in the comments below who you have winning that match. I will also be live right here on YouTube for NXT TakeOver New York on Friday, April the 5th, WrestleMania 35 on Sunday, April the 7th, and the Raw and SmackDown after WrestleMania on April 8th and 9th respectively as well. So be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to Gridiron Ring and myself, CoolHandLuke96, on social media, especially Alexa Bliss, and hopefully I see everyone for WrestleMania. Corey Graves has breaking news. Next week on Raw, in a 6-woman tag team match, the 3 competitors in the main event, Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte Flair, will face off versus the Riot Squad. So 6-woman tag next week on WWE Monday Night Raw. Seth frickin' Rollins then comes out and he's about to burn WrestleMania down. Brock Lesnar will defend the Universal Championship versus the Architect Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, aka now the Beast Slayer Seth Rollins. He has so many damn nicknames, so you can call him whatever the hell you want. But right now, Seth frickin' Rollins, is the Beast Slayer. And I'm thinking right now he's going to beat Lesnar at Mania, but we'll have to find out and see. Rollins, he cuts a promo. He says the winner will define the future of our business, and Rollins wants that. He wants to carry the company into the future. He says, this is the biggest match of my career. I have to beat Brock Lesnar. I cannot let Lesnar be the future of this company. I am going to walk to the gates of Suplex City and burn it down. That's when Paul Heyman interrupts with, ladies and gentlemen, he gets booed from the crowd, as expected, like he normally does. It's either he's getting booed or they're in unison with him like they were. But, yeah, he was getting booed. Boston was really into it. So shout out to them. Boston, great wrestling city. But, yeah, Paul Heyman, he goes on by saying then, thank you, Seth Rollins, for letting him know that the match now at WrestleMania is now a handicap match because it's Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins in the entire WWE universe. I'm not asking for your thoughts and prayers. I'm here to answer them, says Seth Rollins. We are going to WrestleMania. We are going to beat Brock Lesnar. We are going to take the Universal Championship, and we are going to march to Suplex City, and we are going to, and then he raised the mic, the entire crowd in unison, burn it down. So I'm thinking Rollins is going to win, but I haven't made my predictions yet, so keep an eye out for those sometime next week. Yeah, I don't know who's going to win yet, but I'm leaning towards Rollins. I think he will, but everybody thought Roman was going to win last year against Lesnar in the main event, and Lesnar walked out and ended up retaining at the Greatest Royal Rumble. Reigns didn't get it until SummerSlam, and then he was diagnosed with leukemia in October, finally came back. So who the hell knows what they'll end up doing with all these championship matches, all these matches in general for WrestleMania. But yeah, keep an eye out for my predictions sometime next week. Like, follow, and subscribe on social media. Kurt Angle then comes out as Paul Heyman is laying down because the last thing I said there with Rollins and Heyman, that took place up by the entrance ramp. But Kurt Angle came out. They're chanting, "You suck." Angle is chanting, "You suck," towards Paul Heyman. It was nice to see, though, Angle and Heyman one last time on screen together before Angle does hang it up. But Kurt Angle comes out. His match versus Samoa Joe is next. And Samoa Joe, he cut another great promo before the match started. Samoa Joe and Kevin Owens, can't forget about him. They're the absolute best. Kurt Angle ended up winning a decent match versus Samoa Joe in Angle's final match in the city of Boston, Massachusetts. I say decent match because they've had 10 times better matches when they're together in TNA, but it is what it is. You know, what are you going to do? Triple H then comes out. They go to commercial break, come back. He thanks the Boston crowd because I guess they gave him a standing ovation during the entire commercial break, which was pretty long too, by the way. So like I said, Boston was really into it. I'd say hashtag Boston for Mania. Maybe, 40, 41, 42? Because WrestleMania 35 this year, East Rutherford, New Jersey. Next year, 36 are going down south to Tampa, Florida. 37 will probably be out in either LA or Vegas, because they haven't been out west recently. 31 was the last one they were out west for. That was when Rollins cashed in, because 32 was Dallas, 33 Orlando, 34 New Orleans. So 37 will probably be out west, either LA or Vegas, because they're both building brand new stadiums. 38 then, they might come back to the Midwest. Maybe Chicago gets one. They haven't had one since 22, and that was inside the Allstate Arena. where they have Raw and all that right now, right outside of Chicago in Rosemont, Illinois. So maybe Minneapolis, maybe Indianapolis, maybe they go back to Dallas, Seattle maybe again. They want to do baseball stadiums. They're doing baseball stadiums right now for the Royal Rumble. Maybe they go back to Phoenix, the Glendale area where the Cardinals play at. Maybe Houston again. Boston, I think, should get a Mania. They've had one before. Can't remember the exact number, the exact year. I think it was WrestleMania 12 or 14, if I'm not mistaken. Let me know in the comments below if you know. Philly should get one, I think, along with Pittsburgh. There's a lot of great wrestling cities that have either had WrestleManias in the past, that haven't had one in quite a while, or cities that have never, ever hosted a WrestleMania. So, hashtag Boston for Mania, along with hashtag Pittsburgh for Mania. Triple H, though, as I said, in the ring, he congrats Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte for main eventing WrestleMania this year. And to every woman in the back, and to every woman who has ever stepped in the squared circle. Triple H then pulls out a letter from Batista's lawyer stating that he will not be competing at WrestleMania unless Triple H agrees to another stipulation. Batista says, and I quote, "If you would like me to appear at WrestleMania, you will give me what I want, what I really, really want. I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. I wanna. It was funny, comedy. Triple H has always been a comedic guy. He's a damn good wrestler, though, too. One of the best of all time. Crowd was behind him 100% on this as well. So, yeah, it was funny because, obviously, Batista saying a couple weeks ago on Raw, give me what I want, it really blew up. So, they worked with it. They took advantage of it while they could. Batista, Triple H still at WrestleMania, but Batista says he wants Triple H to put his career on the line in this no-holds-barred match. Triple H agrees after calling Batista a douchebag. So at WrestleMania now, it'll be Triple H versus Batista, still in a no-holds-barred match, but if Triple H loses, he will be forced to retire after agreeing to put his career on the line. Elias then is outside somewhere in New York City. It looked like the Manhattan Center, to be honest with you. He's outside playing for money. But up next is the main event of the evening, Dean Ambrose versus Drew McIntyre in a last man standing match. Raw next week, though, will be in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and I will be live right here on YouTube, as I said earlier, doing live reactions play-by-play, so be sure to tune in. Also next week for SmackDown in Baltimore, Maryland. Now for Raw, though, next week, Kurt Angle will face Rey Mysterio. Also, Ronda, Becky, and Charlotte will face off versus the Riot Squad, and the Universal Champion, the Beast Incarnate himself, Brock Lesnar, will make an appearance. Dean Ambrose, though, versus Drew McIntyre in a last man standing match. Tables, some steel steps, and a kendo stick were also used in this match, but what really put Ambrose out was a power slam through a table and then a Claymore kick right after. So Drew McIntyre, he ended up winning the main event and stood tall to end Monday Night Raw once again. I believe it's the third consecutive week, if I'm not mistaken. Let me know if you guys know differently in the comments below. I know it's at least 2 of the past 3 because he stood tall in Pittsburgh and then he stood tall last night. Can't remember last week in Chicago for some reason, but Drew McIntyre won, stood tall to end Raw once again. So will someone please tell me, please, I'm begging you to tell me that Drew McIntyre is clearly over with the entire company and is one of the best heels right now. In my opinion, Drew McIntyre needs to be champion once again in the WWE by the end of 2019. Hell, by the end of summer. Can we please make that happen? Can we please make that happen? Please have Drew McIntyre. I know somebody from WWE is listening. I know damn well they are, because some of the things I've said recently, the past month, maybe 2 months, in these Raw and SmackDown recaps, my live reaction videos, they've been doing some of it on TV. So I know somebody's listening. I don't care who you are. I mean, I do, but I don't. Whoever you are, though, thank you for listening, one. But please make Drew McIntyre a champion by the end of the calendar year this year, 2019, before we get to 2020. Hell, like I said, if it could be by the end of summer 2019, that'd be even better. So, Drew McIntyre, he needs to be champion. I don't really care what championship it is. I mean, I would prefer the Universal or the WWE title, depending on what they do, the WWE, depending on what the WWE decides to do after WrestleMania with the Superstar Shakeup. But please give Drew McIntyre and Kevin Owens, you finally gave Samoa Joe a championship. Kevin Owens needs to be champion again, coming back from his injury. I think he'll be champion eventually sometime soon. But depending on what they do, the WWE, after WrestleMania with the Superstar Shakeup, please give Drew McIntyre, of all people, along with Owens and Joe maybe as well, maybe get the U.S. title off them, put them in a triple threat on SmackDown or on Raw if you have them on whatever show you're going to have them on after the shakeup. Who knows? I don't know. You guys know, obviously. But please make what I just stated happen. Please. Because believe me, I'm all in. Wink, wink. All in on Drew McIntyre. Along with Owens, like I said, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Adam Cole, baby. And if you're not down with that, then I got 2 words for you. Suck it. Let me know then in the comments below as well what you thought of WWE Monday Night Raw this week, Monday, March the 25th, 2019. And stay tuned for this week's SmackDown Live recap. As I said at the beginning of this, SmackDown Live just got over a short time ago. And the New Day, Big E, Kofi Kingston, and Xavier Woods, they kicked off SmackDown just a couple hours ago now. And we had some Kofi chants as usual once they got in the ring, with Kofi Mania in full swing right now. So New Day, they started off their promo simply by saying thank you. So thank you to everybody for listening here tonight. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button if you're enjoying, like, follow, and subscribe on social media. As always, the links are in the description below. So thank you, New Day. They say thank you. Thank you for the last 5 years to New Day Sucks, to New Day Rocks, to the Power of Positivity, Bootios, all the pancakes, anything and everything in between the past 5 years for the New Day. They say thank you. And I say thank you, as I said there just a second ago. Thank you for your support the past, almost 3 years now, coming up here next week. So thank you for listening and watching Cool Hand Luke 96 of Gridiron Ring right here on YouTube. Like, follow, and subscribe to Gridiron Ring, Gridring 18, and myself, Cool Hand Luke 96, on social media. So New Day, they say thank you, like I said, but they say they've discussed walking away. Why? Because Kofi's been treated poorly the last 11 years. Kofi is the definition of positivity. He does not quit. So we need some answers. And the person who has those answers is Mr. McMahon, old Vinnie Mac. They asked Vince to come down and talk about the issues going on right now with Kofi Kingston and the WWE Championship. So Vince comes out. All he says is, first of all, but then we hear, hold on. Someone's interrupting him. It's Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan comes out, interrupts both Vince and the New Day. Daniel Bryan goes on by saying, Mr. McMahon, don't wait. If they want to quit, let them quit. Because all the New Day is, all they are is a stale novelty act. You created them, and you could always recreate them once they quit. You could call up 3 guys from NXT and call them Fresh Afternoon and have them throw pancakes in the crowd. This was awesome by Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan's one of the best as well. He's one that obviously had to make his way to the top. And I'll get to that here in a second because it comes into play with this promo, this opening segment of SmackDown Live earlier. But he's a guy who people really don't think about whenever they're thinking about real hardcore, true wrestlers. Daniel Bryan's up there though. But like I said, he's somebody who people always seem to forget. But Daniel Bryan, you're at the top of my list as well. So he tells Vince, like I said, you could call up 3 guys from NXT, call them Fresh Afternoon, and have them throw pancakes in the crowd as well, because Kofi Kingston is nothing but a B+ player. Kofi, you lost last week to me, you lost at Fastlane, and you lost at the Elimination Chamber. You, Mr. McMahon, You are right. These people are wrong. And the New Day is just, they're just like these people, saying Kofi deserves this and that and everything in between. Xavier Woods then says the reality is you're scared, Daniel. He actually called him Brian, which Brian's his real name. It's Bryan Danielson. Daniel Bryan, though, in WWE. So one way or another, it still makes sense. He says, you've turned into everything you used to fight for. And that goes back to what I just said. It'll come into play here during this opening segment, because 5 years ago, WrestleMania 30, Kofi Kingston now was Daniel Bryan then. Go back and watch the lead up, the road to WrestleMania, if you will, 5 years ago. So it's very similar. Very, very similar. Xavier calls Daniel Bryan a hypocrite. Then Vince tells everybody to shut up. Vince goes to the New Day by saying, you gonna quit? No, you're not gonna quit. You never were. It was just a psychological way of convincing me to give Kofi what he wants. Kofi, you'll always be a B+ player in my heart, says Vince McMahon. You guys, though, pointing to Big E and Xavier Woods, the other members of the New Day, I don't even know if you're a B+ tag team, but you guys can help Kofi. If you guys can win a tag team gauntlet match tonight, Kofi will go to WrestleMania. Don't know at this point, though, what other tag teams are in the gauntlet match, but there will be a tag team gauntlet match later on SmackDown Live. It ended up being the main event of the evening. So they do the breaking news from yesterday with Ronda Rousey defending versus Becky Lynch and Charlotte in the main event of WrestleMania for the Raw Women's Championship. Then Becky Lynch, she gets interviewed backstage before Charlotte's music hits. She interrupts, and then she starts walking towards the ring. Charlotte has a mic in her hand once again, as she did on Raw the night before, last night. Charlotte says, third wheel, undeserving. I'm about to show you how deserving I am. Commercial break. They advertise the tag team gauntlet match then for later on in the main event once they come back from that commercial break. If the New Day wins, Kofi will be going to WrestleMania. Charlotte's in the ring, her music's playing, then Asuka comes out. I'm thinking to myself, what the hell? Like, are they seriously going to have a match right now? Yes, they are. Yes, they did. Charlotte went face-to-face with Asuka for the SmackDown Live Women's Championship. So it was even a championship match as well. So, let alone having a match between the two of them. Okay, I get that. Because that was the only thing women-wise that they had on the show, other than Becky interview backstage and then the Iconics. They had an iPhone promo. I'll get to that here in a second. But the gauntlet match and Angle last match on SmackDown versus Styles, I'll get to that here in a second as well. Kofi with Vince and just everything leading up to WrestleMania. And I'll get to what I think about it here in a second. They have too many segments. They have too many superstars, but not enough time. That's SmackDown, because Raw has 3. Like I said, I'll get to here in a second. I know I'm going on and on about it, but I should just be going in order, and that's what I try to do week in and week out. So hopefully you guys enjoy. But yeah, it ended up being Charlotte versus Asuka for the SmackDown Live Women's Championship, and Charlotte ended up defeating Asuka, and Charlotte is your new SmackDown Live Women's Champion once again. Yes, you heard that correctly. Charlotte Flair defeated Asuka to win the SmackDown Live Women's Championship earlier tonight. My reaction to that was also, what the hell? Like, really? Like, especially 12 days away from WrestleMania? But then I thought about it for a second, and in my opinion, they're probably going to merge the two titles, the Raw and SmackDown Live Women's Championship, and have a undisputed Women's Championship moving forward. Now, what I mean by that is they'll still have the triple threat at WrestleMania between the Raw Women's Champion, Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch, and now the new SmackDown Live Women's Champion, Charlotte Flair, in the main event at WrestleMania. And then the winner of that will become the new WWE Undisputed Women's Champion, with that superstar defending on both Raw and SmackDown moving forward. It makes sense, but at the same time it doesn't, so we'll see what happens moving forward towards WrestleMania, and then after with the Saudi Arabia pay-per-view, Money in the Bank, Backlash, Extreme Rules, and then SummerSlam. That's your pay-per-view lineup from now until the middle of August. Kurt Angle, though, versus AJ Styles is next. AJ got interviewed by, wasn't Charlie, it was the Sarah. It was the blonde, her name's Sarah. I forget what Sarah Schreiber. Yeah, she's a new, she's been working for WWE for, I'd say close to a year now. She's pretty good. She does basically everything at the live events and NXT house shows and TV, and yeah, she interviewed AJ in Gorilla before the match. But once the match got started, Randy Orton came out of nowhere, RKO'd AJ Styles, which ended the match, disqualification, bell rang. Kurt then hit Orton with a Angle slam before Kurt and AJ stood tall on Kurt Angle's final match on SmackDown Live, because he will be hanging it up. So we think right now in 12 days at WrestleMania 35. I really would have liked to see this once again, though, especially for the first time in a WWE ring. But I guess I'll have to settle for their matches versus each other in TNA. That's the thing, and I'll get to what I was saying just a second ago. Now, the thing about SmackDown, especially with WrestleMania coming up, SmackDown only 2 hours compared to Raw's 3, and they just have so much to fit in a 2-hour show, and they just can't do it. Like I said, they had the Angle Styles match, which ended rather quickly because of the Gauntlet match and the Vince Kofi thing with the New Day and Daniel Bryan, the iconic iPhone promo, the Charlotte Flair Asuka match that I thought went a little too long, but it is what it is. What else was there? Well, I'll get to it here in a second, whether I missed it or not, or if I've already gone over it. Talking a lot tonight, because normally I record Raw before SmackDown, and then SmackDown after SmackDown, the recaps, the reviews. But here tonight, I waited until SmackDown got over, and I recorded Raw, and I'm recording SmackDown now, obviously. So I've been talking a lot about WWE, and I threw some NFL in there as well earlier, so I know I'm going on and on, but I'll cover it here if I've covered it already or if I'm about to come up on it. So thank you guys for listening. Like, follow, and subscribe on social media. Now next week, whenever I do live reactions of Raw and SmackDown, I will not be doing a Raw and SmackDown recap video. So next week and the following week, I will not be doing recap videos because I'll be doing live streams for WrestleMania season. So next Monday and Tuesday I'll be on, like I said, for Raw and SmackDown live reactions of that. I'll have a WrestleMania prediction video though out, so keep an eye out for that. Hopefully you enjoy that. And then TakeOver and WrestleMania, and then the following week, Raw and SmackDown live reactions as well. So the next 2 weeks, I will not have Raw and SmackDown review videos out here on the channel. So hopefully you guys don't mind, but I'll be talking about everything during those live streams and whatnot, and it's just pointless. I know it's another video, it's more content. Hell, I might change my mind, so what I just said there might not make any sense a couple weeks from now. I might, do it anyway, but as of now, I will not be doing for the next 2 weeks, Raw and SmackDown recap videos. So, like I said, hopefully you guys don't mind on that, but like I was saying, AJ had a match with Kurt Angle, and it was cut short because obviously not enough time, and Orton RKO'd Styles and whatnot. Like I said, gonna have to settle for their matches in TNA, and SmackDown just doesn't have enough time. And people wonder why someone hasn't been on TV in forever. I get it, but really would have liked to see this match in its entirety. So be sure to subscribe to Gridiron Ring right here on YouTube before checking out Kurt Angle's matches versus both Samoa Joe and AJ Styles from their TNA days. Rey Mysterio then had a WWE.com interview that was recorded earlier in the day with his son Dominic, who I've been hearing rumors he very well could be working for WWE sometime soon. But Rey Mysterio interview with Caleb Braxton that was on WWE.com. Then The Miz came out. They announced after the commercial break, though, that the match between Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte Flair in the main event of WrestleMania will still just be for the Raw Women's Championship. But I think that'll change next week on either Raw or SmackDown, and then they'll end up creating an undisputed Women's Championship. But the only undisputed that belongs in professional wrestling is the Undisputed Era and Adam Cole, baby. So Miz, he cuts a promo. We had This Is Awesome chants along with Miz is Awesome chants from the Uncasville Mohegan Sun Arena crowd up in Connecticut. Miz replies with, I couldn't agree more. We are now 12 days away from WrestleMania, and Shane has lit a fire inside of me that I didn't know I had. Shane, you made this personal. Miz now wants a Falls Count Anywhere match versus Shane McMahon at WrestleMania. Shane O'Mac comes out then, led by security, WWE security, jobbers from the local area, independent wrestlers. And also, it was either Primo or Epico Colon, one of the two, Shelton Benjamin, and then Sanity, Eric Young, Killian Dane, and Alexander Wolf. Then Shane tells Greg Hamilton to introduce him with Conviction. So Greg Hamilton does that once again. Security says Shane is to protect Miz from Shane, not the other way around. Shane accepts Miz's proposal to a Falls Count Anywhere match now at WrestleMania, and then Miz goes after Shane after he threw a shot towards Miz's dad, George Mizanin. Miz takes out all the security, Primo or Epico, whoever the hell it was, Shelton Benjamin, and Sanity, but did not get his hands on Shane O'Mac. But now at WrestleMania, it is the Miz versus Shane McMahon in a Falls Count Anywhere match. By the way, Miz and Mrs. returns next Tuesday night on the USA Network. Then they show a recap from, they announce that Alexa Bliss is still the host of WrestleMania 35. Then they show a recap from the night before on Monday Night Raw with a moment of bliss with Braun Strowman and Michael Che and Colin Jost from Saturday Night Live, with the last three, Strowman, Che, and Jost, being in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal at WrestleMania. Then the tag team gauntlet match is up next, and if the New Day wins, Big E and Xavier Woods, Kofi Kingston will be going to WrestleMania to face the new Daniel Bryan for the Planet's Championship, the WWE Championship. This is when we had the iconic iPhone promo with the Iconics as they announce, it was already announced on Raw though, I talked about it earlier, as they are now in a fatal four-way at WrestleMania for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships against the Boston Hug Connection of Bayley and Sasha Banks, Nia Jackson, Tamina, and Natalya and Beth Phoenix. Gallows and Anderson. I never would have thought Gallows and Anderson, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, would be the first team or one of the teams in this gauntlet match, but they were. Gallows and Anderson, they were the first team in the gauntlet match versus Big E and Xavier Woods of the New Day, only to get beat in a squash match. But hey, at least they are on TV. Maybe this will shut everyone up about them leaving WWE once their contracts expire. Shinsuke Nakamura and Rusev are up next in the gauntlet match. New Day win as expected versus them to move on, but the Bar, Sheamus and Cesaro, are up next. We just don't set the bar, we are the bar. New Day, they win once again. Kofi then, by this point, he has a viewing party backstage watching on TV with other SmackDown Live superstars, including Becky Lynch, the man Becky Lynch, Matt and Jeff Hardy, the Hardy Boys, and Aleister Black and Ricochet. But then Sheamus and Cesaro, once they lost to the New Day, they attack Big E and Xavier some more after, and they set up a table in the middle of the ring, and Big E gets sent through that table right before the SmackDown Live Tag Team Champions, the Usos, come out to keep the gauntlet match going. However, the Usos say Kofi deserves to fight for the WWE Championship, also that he's earned our respect, their respect. He's earned my respect though too. The other superstars in the backstage, and them pointing to the WWE crowd, the WWE Universe. they wish the New Day good luck because the Usos, they forfeit in the Gauntlet match. However, they still keep their SmackDown Live Tag Team Championships. So then they cut to Daniel Bryan and Eric Rowan. Rowan backstage. We'll have to see what happens with Luke Harper. He very well could be going to AEW now, I think, because I think it was Nick Jackson tweeted, "It's Monday, you know what that means," and every day of the week, Luke Harper tweets that. "It's Sunday, you know what that means. It's Monday, you know what that means. Tuesday, you know what that means." Whatever the hell day you're listening to this on, you know what that means. So, like, follow, and subscribe to Gridiron Ring and myself, Cool Hand Luke96, on social media. Links in the description below. So, Daniel Bryan and Rowan, they're ripping the locker room apart, including smashing a nice flat screen TV that I think anybody would appreciate, but Daniel Bryan obviously not. Go to commercial break, so they keep the anticipation going. Greg Hamilton then announces, once they come back from commercial break, that the New Day must face one more tag team. That's when Daniel Bryan and Eric Rowan come out, and the New Day end up winning by countout after Rowan got stuck underneath the announce table. So Kofi Kingston, as I said to kick off this episode, this audio recording, this video of my Raw and SmackDown review this week, Monday and Tuesday, March 25th and 26th, 2019, respectively, Kofi Kingston is going to WrestleMania. Next week, I bet any money now, we'll probably have a contract signing maybe between Daniel Bryan and Kofi Kingston for their match at WrestleMania for the WWE Championship. And then Kayla Braxton, she actually caught up with Vince McMahon as he's getting into his limo, getting ready to leave SmackDown Live. By the way, didn't blow up this time, but he says he just saw the New Day win, and that this does mean Kofi Kingston will be going to WrestleMania. But the question is, will a B-plus player be able to beat Daniel Bryan for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania? That's when the entire SmackDown Live locker room came out and congratulated Kofi Kingston to end SmackDown Live. So Kofi Kingston is going to WrestleMania on Sunday, April the 7th. More than likely now to face Daniel Bryan for the WWE Championship. They still have not said that. They said he's just going to WrestleMania, so who the hell knows what they'll end up doing with him. More than likely, though, because I don't have anybody else lined up for it, Daniel Bryan will face off versus Kofi Kingston. Both Raw and SmackDown, though, this week, I thought were great. Both were jam-packed. A lot of stuff going on with WrestleMania right around the corner. I would rate both shows a 9.5 out of 10 on a scale of 1 to 10. So let me know in the comments below what you thought of both Raw and SmackDown Live this week. And as I said already before, and all the time, be sure, if you haven't done so already, to like, follow, and subscribe to Gridiron Ring and myself, Cool Hand Luke96, on social media. Links, as always, are in the description below. And be sure to tune in next Monday and Tuesday night right here on YouTube for live reactions, play-by-play of both go-home shows of Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live for WrestleMania. And keep an eye out for my WWE NXT TakeOver New York and WrestleMania 35 predictions before WrestleMania weekend next weekend. We'll also be doing live reactions, play-by-play of NXT TakeOver New York, WrestleMania 35, and the Raw and SmackDown Live after WrestleMania. Thanks for listening. Like, follow, and subscribe on social media.